My name is Karen Testerman, and I want to talk to you about freedom. The freedom to succeed and the freedom to fail. The freedom to choose how and where your children will be educated. The freedom to choose what kind of health care you want and who's going to provide that health care. The freedom to speak, to think, and to worship. The freedom that is embodied in our state motto, to live free or die.
We have to start looking at all of the strings that are attached to our money in the state of New Hampshire because of government strings. When we accept the money from the government level, there are always strings attached to it. So just like we want to become energy independent, my suggestion is that maybe we want to also become federal dollar independent, because every dollar that is spent by government, whether it's the federal level, state, or local, comes off of the backs of hardworking families and businesses. And somehow we have to say, no, that's enough. We are a sovereign state. Another thing I think we have to do is we have to strengthen and encourage strong marriages and families. The reason I say that is because if we look at our budget, 28% or more goes to health and human services. And most of those programs are to address the fallout of fractured families. There's also the Department of Education that I think is far too large. And I think that the purpose of the Department of Education should be to set standards. They should not be involved in teaching our children values. Those are things that belong in the home and under the control of the parents. If you really go in and look at our education laws, the only thing that education at the public level has to provide is bricks and mortar.
And when small businesses create 75% of the jobs in this state, imposing the new LLC tax is taking New Hampshire down the road to extinction. Looking at the past 3 budgets, we find that there are 87 new or increased taxes and fees. The majority of those came from the last budgetary cycle. Interestingly, almost half of those were legislatively imposed, and Governor Lynch had the ability to veto every one of them, and he did not.
I looked at the size of the governor's staff. There are 50 people there. I'm not so sure we need all 50 people to be there. I go back to the fact that Abraham Lincoln ran this country with 1 chief of staff.
We must also reform the way that the budget is developed. Just like responsible families sit around the kitchen table and they look at what income comes in and then they determine their spending. And if they find that this year they didn't get as much income, then they sit down and they make a hard decision. We're not going to go on that vacation. We're not going to buy that car. We're not going to, buy the new dress. So should the state be held to that same standard. We should be looking back at what did we bring in revenue in 2009. And that should be the limit of what we can spend. That and no more.